How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. Today we have a lot to talk about in the crypto market because it's up about 4.5%. And this is after there was a lot of fear yesterday in the market. And I want to talk about why the market's up. I want to talk about some big pieces of news that have led to this, specifically to crypto. Some of them have happened within the last few hours. I also want to talk about some people selling all their assets to get into this one asset. And I've actually been investing heavily towards it myself. And I think it's one that you have to pay attention to now. Now, I would highly suggest staying through to the end of the video. I think there's a lot of good information, but if you want to put it on 1.25 speed or something like that, I realize that sometimes I talk slowly, so you guys can do that. Also hit subscribe and hit the like button if you don't mind. There's a link down there to FTX also. So I use this. I think it is a great platform. They have some of the lowest fees out there, and they allow you to trade NFTs without having to pay gas fees, which can save you hundreds of dollars. But when you sign up with the link underneath the video, there is a 10% reduction off your normal fees. Plus, you can get some free crypto if you trade $10 or more. So I would highly suggest it. They just had an ad in the Super Bowl and gave away a lot of crypto, and I'm sure that they're going to give crypto away in the future. So definitely check out that link underneath the video. Now, the crypto market's up 4.5% today. The stock market's up significantly too. Now, part of this is because there's a little bit of a flee back into some of these higher risk assets because apparently this news that there's going to be an invasion in Ukraine was a joke. This was a joke coming from the Ukraine government. I covered this in a video yesterday saying that the next 2 days could be really choppy. And I said that there's going to be high volatility, which is true because the market's up so much today because this came out that this was a joke. I don't think government officials should be joking about war, but apparently that is something that's happening right now, which is why I believe in dollar cost averaging. I said that to my Patreon group last night. I was still buying last night because of the fact that we never know what's going to happen in the future, and I need to put my money into strong assets, which obviously that was a pretty good buy because of the fact that the market's rebounded. Now, there's some specific news to crypto that's caused it to go up. Also, the Prime Minister of Canada just escalated the protests. So if you haven't heard about this, I don't blame you. I hadn't really kept up with it too much until today because he took it to a new level. So basically, the truckers had been protesting against C-19 restrictions. I'm not going to get political with this. I just want to bring up what the government did. They invoked the Emergencies Act, which is allowed to happen when something seriously threatens the ability of the government of Canada to preserve the sovereignty, security, and territorial integrity of Canada, and when the situation cannot be effectively dealt with under any other law of Canada. So what does this actually let them do? Well, first of all, they can tow away vehicles that are causing there to be issues with essential services, which makes sense. I mean, that should probably happen anyways. I've had my car towed for much less, but they can also freeze truckers' personal and corporate bank accounts and take further action to strike against their livelihoods and the sources of their financial support. They can also cancel insurance on their vehicles. So this is happening without court orders also. It's caused some people to realize the government has a lot of control. If something that is happening they think is out of line, they can take your money, they can freeze your accounts, which has caused a lot of people to flee and look into Bitcoin even more. Even if you're not part of this, even if you're not part of the truckers that are protesting, in Canada, you realize, okay, if they're gonna do this once, they might do this again with something that I care about, which causes you to think, okay, I should have some more money in something like Bitcoin that the government can't control, right? If there was some kind of war, then you still have access to your keys and you can control that. It's in something very small that you can carry around with you. So that is a huge, I think a huge pro to Bitcoin and pro to crypto right now when there's so much uncertainty that it's immutable and it can't be taken away. It's unseizable from the government. I mean, they can try, right? They can confiscate your keys. We saw that with a hack recently, but it's much harder than having your money in a bank account. And then we did just get news. This is as of a couple hours ago that Fidelity International launches Bitcoin ETP in Europe. An ETP is an exchange traded product. And the cool thing about this is going to be physically backed by Bitcoin and held in custody with Fidelity digital assets. So this is fantastic. This is basically a spot ETF. Now, I'm sure there are some differences between them, but it's spot. So when someone goes and puts $100 million, they have to go buy $100 million of Bitcoin. So they are doing this because they found that a lot of institutions are wanting this. 7 out of 10 institutional investors plan to invest in cryptocurrencies in the near future. This is from a recent digital asset report. So right now, there's just so much of a need for it that they are going and spending millions of dollars, maybe tens of millions of dollars to get this set up. So of course, they're going to get some fees, but 0.75% is lower than something like GBTC, which I think is around 2%. And this is going to be physically backed. So for some institutional investors, it's just easier to pay the 0.75% than to store it yourself and take that risk on yourself, because you're probably going to need insurance for that anyways. So this is, I think, another great thing that came out of today that a lot of people haven't heard about yet because it is new. Now, I do want to turn you on to something that people are doing. People are selling all their assets to buy this. And maybe you've already caught it from today, what I've talked about so far, but some people are selling all their assets, I should say, all their cash to buy this crypto investment. And that's Bitcoin. One person that has talked about this more than anyone out there, this is not sponsored by Brian Harrington or anything like that, but he has talked about this, not getting off zero, but getting on zero. So if you guys want, I will link to his YouTube underneath the video, but he talks about how getting off zero and buying Bitcoin is a good start, but it's not where you need to be. He wants to get on zero. He wants to hold $0 and he wants all his money in Bitcoin. He is going through all the different products to allow him to live life on the Bitcoin standard. So he doesn't have to have any exposure to the US dollar. So I think this is pretty cool. If you're not quite there, that's fine. I understand it. I'm not quite there either where I'm putting all my money in Bitcoin. I still think of the US dollar as something to hold short term just to make life easier as of now. And then I try to get it into long-term assets, stocks, crypto, real estate. But I'm not quite there where I want everything accepted to use an ACH portal instead of a bank and have everything go through Bitcoin. I'm not quite there. But if you're trying to get there, or you just want to hear more about Bitcoin in general, Brian Harrington's the way to go. And he works at one of the big companies that I work with, Choice. So if you guys want, you can check out his page underneath the video. But I understand why some people want to do this, especially when you consider high inflation. In the US, we're at 7.5%. The PPI came in just today at 1% in January, which is 9.7% over the last 12 months. This is the producer price index, how much it costs for the producers. This is increasing faster than CPI. So I understand why some people are trying to move all their cryptocurrency over, or all their assets over to cryptocurrency, because of the fact that there's just so much inflation, and that's in the US. Other countries are even worse. Now, you can also see that a lot of billionaires are turning towards crypto too. The billionaires don't keep the majority of their money in the US dollar. They just don't. If anything, they take loans against their assets. This is what the billionaires do just so that they don't have to have taxable events. That's what they do because it gives them more flexibility and keeps money in long-term appreciating assets. And we have a lot of, like I said, we have a lot of billionaires that are turning towards us. I just saw the CEO of SoFi has a Bitcoin investment. We have Bill Miller, who recently announced that he has 50% of his personal worth in Bitcoin, that in Amazon. So he's one of the best investors of our time. We also have Elon Musk. We have a bunch of other billionaires too that aren't even considered cryptocurrency natives that are now putting money into cryptos because they see the long-term potential. A lot of them are putting money behind the scenes too to investment startups like Kevin O'Leary, but so many people are putting money into cryptocurrency because it is just a different asset class that cannot be controlled by the government, and there is widespread adoption. So I would highly suggest continuously doing more research, continuously watching more videos so you get more comfortable and even more bullish on it long term. Just know that there is going to be some price fluctuations in the medium term. In the short term, that's always going to be the case. But until we're a very mature asset class like gold, we're going to have big fluctuations. But if you hold long term, it should do well for you. So definitely check out the link underneath the video to FTX. You can also check out the link down below to Brian Harrington's YouTube page if you want to become a little bit more native in cryptocurrency and Bitcoin specifically. Thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.